You take one toothpick, you can break it. Put a whole bunch of toothpicks together and try and break them together. There's strength in unity. So if we don't work together as a community, as business owners, as consumers, then we will constantly end up failing.
And welcome back.
Commerce and chill.
Commerce and chill. We're commercing. No time for chill.
No chill.
No time for chill. Why?
A chill on my filter maybe, but no chill.
Because today we want to talk about COVID versus black businesses.
Is it black or like minority businesses?
You can say minority, but at the end of the day, let's keep it real. When America catches a cold, minorities catch pneumonia, and black folks catch and die from COVID.
Nobody got time for that.
So let's keep it real.
Damn. I feel like a news reporter. You guys got all these papers now. Like, what's going on around here? Like,
you don't need the papers.
I got like briefing documents and everything. Like, what episode are we on? Like 120? Like, we just like went way up.
So while you're reading the briefing notes, just to let you know, if this is your first time stopping by, this is Commerce and Chill. I'm Jessica Johnson Cope.
I'm Waleed, and I don't do well with notes.
And this is the place where we talk about the intersection of entrepreneurship, small business, and life of a married couple. Hey,
absolutely.
Hey man,
how are you?
Good? I'm tight.
I'm scared to ask, but what are you tight about?
I'm tight because I'm reading about what's happening. I mean, you can see what's going on in the streets. You can see what's going on with business. We've talked about PPP. We've talked about how there are a lot of businesses that are not in operations or not in full operations as a result of the quarantine or forced shutdowns as a result of what the government has imposed. And it's a hard time for everybody. It's a hard time for people sitting at home. It's a hard time for people going to work. But I saw a startling statistic and it arrested my attention so much so that I was like, we got to get an episode on this. So where we can talk about the overarching impact of COVID on minority communities and businesses that are minority owned.
Right.
But we can really speak in detail about how COVID has crushed the ecosystem of black businesses.
We certainly understand that the responsibilities and dynamics of some people's lives, particularly African American and brown people, do not allow you to be able to stay at home.
Oh, yeah. A lot of businesses, but minority businesses even more.
So set the stage.
They're closed.
Okay.
Like the stage is like, first of all, there is no stage. There is no furniture to put on the stage. There is no audience because the theater is closed. And when someone tells you have to close your business, how do you come back from that? So some businesses were told, okay, you can operate in a modified capacity, like restaurants. We'll use them as an example. So they can't do dine-in, but they could do takeout.
And delivery.
And delivery, right? So depending what your ratio was of your business previously, takeout versus dine-in or delivery, you might be able to sustain because maybe you had a good delivery business, a good portion of your business was delivery, or you had the means to really scale it up, or not even a means, you just put in the work to scale it up. And you got on the different platforms because a lot of the platforms, what's Grubhub, Seamless, which don't they all own each other anyway?
It's basically one
There was
monopoly.
something that got passed where they would only charge a certain percentage during the pandemic versus their normal, I think, 25-30%.
Thanks, City Council.
Yeah. So, the stage is dark. It's not much going on. So I think the question is, how do small businesses, period, minority owned especially, make a comeback? Because they're sick. Like, that thing they put on you that was the EKG when you're in the hospital, it goes dee, 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 and then it goes dee.
Flatline.
They might not have flatline, but some of them, like that little dee is like really, it's supposed to be really quick. It's really far apart.
I can't find a pulse.
Right. The pulse is weak. It's weak. So, I'm scared because I know a lot of businesses, unfortunately, will not come back from this.
So just for context, I read an article in the Washington Post a few days ago, and this is some of the information that it included. The number of working Black business owners fell 40%, far more than other groups amid coronavirus. The pandemic would deepen inequalities in the business world. As the coronavirus spreads across the globe, it appears to be setting off a devastating feedback loop with another of the gravest forces of our time, economic inequality. Closures and social distancing to slow the virus's spread have taken a disastrous toll across racial groups, with the total number of active business owners dropping 22% from February to April, based on granular data from the federal government's employment surveys that was made available earlier this year. But minority-owned businesses have suffered disproportionately in a crisis that's also killing non-white Americans at higher rates and eliminating more of their jobs. So the article goes on to say that among minority-owned businesses in the time span that was measured, the drop in the number of active business owners was closer to 44%. Compared to 22% across all demographic groups. So that means it's twice the rates of business owners not actively operating their business. Minority businesses have been impacted.
So we're dying more physically,
yes,
and financially in our
Yes.
businesses than any other group
yes,
during COVID. That is so messed up.
yes. So there may be some of you who are watching or listening and say, who cares? Like, what's the point? The point is that minority businesses are more likely to hire people in the communities where they do business. So, for
People that
example,
look like them.
that's definitely it. For example, where we are here in the South Bronx, and you probably heard me say this before, our office is located in the poorest financial district in the United States Congress. So if you list all the different congressional districts, over 400 of them, ours is the poorest.
That's sad. And the Bronx is like really big, geographic wise. Mm-hmm. It's not the largest of the 5 boroughs, but it's big.
It's expansive.
And it's the lowest.
It's the poorest.
Well, yeah, poor. Sorry. Let me not use lowest to make it sound like a different thing. It's the poorest. That's sad. In New York City, which is one of they say the greatest cities in the world.
The greatest city in the world.
The greatest city in the world. The greatest city in the world.
Right.
All my Hamilton fans out there.
How is that? How can you be one of the Wall Street, the financial centers of the world, and then you have such disparity?
Because economic disparity and economic inequality is growing across the world. Now, let me just level set and say that even with the level of poverty that we see here in this neighborhood and in other poor neighborhoods and communities across the country, we're still more blessed than other people in the world. Like, I'm sure that there are people living in poverty in Asia and Africa and some other countries in Europe that would say, I would trade an arm to live in the poorest congressional district in the United States.
Oh yeah, let's make no mistake. There are areas and people in situations where you compare it to the poorest congressional district here in the Bronx to some other countries, third world, whatever, that they'd be like, oh, those are good conditions. But regardless, I totally dislike when people want to make the benchmark something lower than what is currently going on or lower than their standards. So someone's like, oh, well, I came in the 5th place in a race. But they'd be like, yeah, that person came in 8th, so I'm better than them.
Right.
No, don't compare yourself to something or something that you feel that has a lower statistics. Look at what's the higher thing or the better thing, and then how do you get to that level? Not even aspire to it. How the hell do you get to it?
But
what do you need to do to get there?
But say, for example, here in the neighborhood, the economic inequality is pronounced, especially when we think about during baseball season. So our office is in the same neighborhood as Yankee Stadium. So when the Yankees are in town, you see an influx of people who don't look like people who live in the
don't live in the community.
Don't live in a community. They bring a lot of money into the community, so we appreciate the economic impact that they make. But think about how how that impacts the mind of maybe a young person who may be getting on the subway to go to school and know that when they come back home, they'll be living in an apartment with 6 people. There's no space for social distancing, and they may not have the same educational opportunities as the people who are getting off the subway to go to Yankee Stadium or that play for the Yankees. So the economic inequality is right there in your face every day in a city like New York.
They live it.
Another thing about small businesses, especially minority small businesses, is that we anchor the economies and the communities where we do business. So not only are we creating jobs, but we are contributing. That's it. Contributing to the tax base in these places. So it makes a difference that a business like ours is here or a business like ours is in Bed-Stuy, because that's putting more money back into the community through the products and services that we buy, through the taxes that we pay.
Unfortunately, people are not looking at the whole picture when it comes to this whole. Listen, there's no I'm not mistaking that, and I have no idea what the. I'm no CDC or pandemic expert or some viral scientist or whatever they're called.
Yeah, virologist.
Virologist, right? Mm-hmm. I am not that. And I'm not even going to sit here and critique how they handled it or what was supposed to be done, because I have no idea. I do not specialize in that. I did not study it. Mm-hmm. I don't Google it, nothing. But when these plans were made to shut businesses down, or which businesses should be closed, which ones shouldn't, I really don't think there was a full look into it. And maybe there was, and the people they had at the table only had a limited scope of what would be impacted and how it would be impacted.
Because we don't have those conversations again.
Well,
go back and watch the episode on Advocate.
We talked about Advocate and PPP money, right?
Number 1, premiums for essential workers. The council will consider legislation that will require large employers to pay premiums to certain essential non-salaried worker.
Wait a minute. So what's considered what in this bill is considered a large business?
Anything with more than 100 employees.
What?
That's me.
What?
That's me. I don't live on Park Avenue. I live in the hood.
But I'm not going to go back into that. Go
watch the episode.
Yeah, but people aren't grasping the whole effect this is going to have. In that piece, we talked about there are 30 million plus small businesses in America. Mm-hmm. Now, out of that 30 million, how many were essential versus how many that weren't, that got totally shut down? I have no idea what that number is. But all I know is if the business closes and that business had 10 employees who live in the community or live in the surrounding communities of that business, that is 10 people. Right? And we're just talking about the people. That is 10 people now who aren't receiving a paycheck, who aren't contributing to the tax base. That's a business who's not contributing to the tax base, right? So now those people in the business become an economic drain on the economy because they're going to file for unemployment. The businesses, maybe the owner's going to file for some type of relief, what have you. So now they're taking money from the system, the economy, versus creating something that's generating money into the economy. And now it's not like the stats for a small business alone surviving the first 2-3 years are like astronomical. But now you put COVID on top of it, you put that they're a minority business, that number gets higher and higher and higher. So now they fail. What is the true impact you're going to have on these communities? Forget the business alone and the people, the community. So if you're in if you lived in a community that had several small businesses, they all weren't deemed essential, they were closed, right? And now, there's another piece. Now we're having the protesting going on, and then some of these businesses are getting vandalized and looted. So now, how do they make a comeback?
And Derek, we're a little bit north of you here on the Grand Concourse, and it's much the same scene. It's these neighborhood stores now that are bearing the brunt. These neighborhood stores like you would see down by Yankee Stadium, those are the ones that got ransacked last night.
Or do they make a comeback? So
or should they make a comeback? Some people are probably you know what? It was hard already, and now this happens. I already have inequality working against me. Then now COVID comes and works against me. And then, I don't know, some people, run up and down a block and, they steal from my shop. Let's say that it doesn't get burned down, which we've seen a lot of businesses get burned down.
Right.
But they steal my inventory, right? And now what?
So in preparation for today's episode, I went into the archives and I watched an episode of the great historical series, The Jeffersons.
Well, we're moving on up to the east side.
Oh my God, George and Wheezy.
We're moving on up. We can't have a laundry business,
You guys might not know about the Jeffersons.
do
Before
laundry
your
and
time.
dry cleaning and not talk about George and Wheezy Jefferson. Right? Moving on up to the east side, deluxe apartment in the sky. There was one episode I can recall watching as a child when there was a blackout. And George grabs one of his employees and they run up to the store to try to make sure that they can save the dry cleaning before the looters get in. But before they can get there, the looters are already there. And I'm like,
remember that
wow,
episode.
this is prophetic. Like, this is so prophetic. This is so timely to what we're going to. And so then George engages in a debate with the looters because the looters don't believe that he's the owner.
Right. They're like, you not the owner.
They're like, you not the owner. He's like, yeah, I am. Here's my wallet. You see my credit cards? They say George Jefferson. And then the looters are like, oh, yeah, hey, Mr. Jefferson, here your clothes. Give us the credit card. Run the credit cards, right? And that's what we're seeing in the streets. That's what we're seeing in the streets. We're seeing people who have been downtrodden by a system. There's so many systemic inequalities. We don't have enough time to cover it in Commerce and Chill. One episode, let alone we could do a whole season on systemic inequality. We wouldn't be able to cover everything. But there are people who are stuck in the system. And as small business owners and minority small business owners, we try to address problems or try to provide products and services that our target users need. But in doing so, we also help to elevate some of those people out of their situations.
Absolutely.
So George Jefferson having a store in the Bronx, and he referenced going to the Bronx store.
It's crazy.
I told you, prophetic. He's trying to create jobs and trying to give people a chance to have clean clothes so that they can be proud about how they present themselves to the world. But George is not in this without flaws, because when he's put in jail, you gotta go see the episode. When he's put in jail, he assumes that everybody in there is in there for stealing.
You gotta lighten up, blood. We ain't no criminals.
Oh yeah? What the hell you doing in jail?
So how many of us are sitting at home and listening to the news stories about the looters, or watching the coverage of the riots and being like, yeah, those people deserve it. No, I'm not saying that that's us. I'm not saying that that's us. But there are constituents out there who think that the rioters deserve whatever they get.
Right. And let's be clear. There's a difference between someone rioting and someone protesting and someone looting. Right? Those are three different distinct things. And you have to be careful what you're consuming and watching and listening to on the media.
Yes.
Because when they say people out there rioting, like someone protesting is not the same as a riot. Let's be 100% clear about that. And if you don't know the difference, Google Google it. Don't believe everything you see or hear. Like, do some research. Like, just don't take it for face granted. But I'm sorry.
Don't take it for face granted.
What is it?
Don't take it for granted,
right? Don't take
or
it
don't
for face
take it at
granted.
face value.
Right. Don't take it at face. I'm putting the two together. Don't take it for granted. Don't take it for face value. Don't take it for face granted.
So,
boom. That's
so
the new
understand, I'm not advocating looting on any part, but when you come to our communities and you riot and loot from our establishments, it hurts our communities even more, because you paint those business owners into a box as to whether or not they should even open back up in that community.
How many times has it happened? Like, where I'm blown away is people don't look at history. History tells you what you need to know. It repeats itself in a different form and format. Social media. Bro, sis, before social media, there was the TV. Before the TV, there was the radio. And if you study,
And before the radio, there was a newspaper, and there's been
there was a
encyclopedias
telegraph.
for a
There was all
while.
these different ways of communicating, and they all transcended into a different form or a different medium over time. If you go back and study the changes, the transition from one to the other, you will see now social media is just a transition from TV to that platform, like Netflix, right? All these OTCs where you could just watch stuff on demand. Like it's the times have changed, but
times haven't changed enough.
that's
The times haven't changed enough because you'll hear many people argue that we had more minority-owned businesses
We did.
during segregation
Wait,
because we didn't have the opportunity to go outside of the community and get the goods and services that we needed.
Well,
So we had to
there's
stay
two
in our
things,
own
like,
community
there-
and buy
there-
from our own.
There was our own and then some people debate, well, the end of segregation actually hurt the black economic community because segregation forced us to say we will keep the dollars within our community and build our own. And I'm not saying I'm for segregation at no point in time. But if you think about it, when you're put inside a certain box, you get very, very creative to figure out, how do I make it? How do I grow? How do I survive? So, but you talk about that being something put on them to say, now we're going to build this economic wealth by creating our own banks, our own, doctor's office, our own insurance companies, right? Well, Black Wall Street.
Right.
There were many of them like that, those are the ones that you know about. But there were pockets of community all over the United States and different minorities, not just black, that were successful, thriving communities that were very independent from self-dependent.
Right.
They had they produced what they need and they consumed it, and then they did get resources from other communities, but it was a thriving community, thriving so much where other communities felt like, hey, we need to take this out.
Yeah.
Like,
as a perfect example, Black Wall Street. The Greenwood community in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which was predominantly African American, they had their own businesses. They were very successful, and I guess they got too big for their britches because 99 years ago, they burnt the town down.
Right.
They literally burnt down the black businesses in Tulsa,
and killed
Oklahoma,
people.
in the Greenwood neighborhood.
Over a lie. And it's not the first lie we've heard. Emmett Till. Did someone not confess they lied on their deathbed? Like, did I not hear that in the news? So not only, like, we're talking about businesses, someone lost their life because someone told a little white lie.
There's no such thing as a little white lie. There's just a lie.
Well,
It's just a lie. It's just a lie.
Right? Somebody told a lie.
Bold-faced lie.
But so here, going back to your point, what's worse? And maybe there is no what's worse, but another community or another group of people or another institution, in the matter of speaking, waging financial war to tear your infrastructure down that you've built economically, or when something goes wrong and then the destruction happens from inside your community to destroy what you've built financially. Because I'm looking at a lot of business owners who are out there in the streets now, crying, yelling, upset, talking to people who are either the looters, the rioters, and the protesters. Because when it's a group, you don't know who's who in this group. But they're talking to them, expressing their frustration and say, why would you do this? Right? Because I'm employing people in the community. I look like you. I'm subjected to the same oppression that you are. And I've worked hard to build my business.
But let me just put a footnote right there. As a minority business owner, sometimes we have additional burdens that other people don't have.
Speak on it.
Number
'Cause
one,
I'm about to go there.
Number one, people ridicule
Get the
us.
salt shaker out.
Not salty, not salty. WC. People ridicule minority business owners, right?
We're held to a different standard.
It's a joke.
You're held to a different standard.
Why don't you go get a job? Are you as good as a majority firm?
Or the first thing you hear when something goes wrong.
That's why I don't.
That's why
That's why
I don't go to black-owned businesses.
Yeah.
Like, I think that is such a cop-out.
Yeah, it is.
When people tell me that's why you can't use a black-owned business. 'Cause you telling me you go to my restaurant and something goes wrong and you make the statement, that's why you can't go to black-owned business, because we didn't do something the way you wanted 100%. And you might be right. You might be wrong. The business might be right, or the business might be wrong. I don't know. I'm just talking about that statement when it's made. So you're telling me you don't go to any other business that's owned by different race, culture, whatever term we want to use, being politically correct here, that they don't make a mistake. Do you come out and say, oh, that's why you can't go to an Asian business, or that's why you can't go to a Caucasian business, or that's why
Never
you
heard
can't
it
go
said.
to this business or that business, you can't go to a green colored business or a purple colored business? I've never heard it. Never.
And you
Ever.
don't wait, and you don't hear people in other communities hate on their own business owners.
Yeah, I do.
No, they don't say
But
they don't say it to outsiders.
I don't hear it, and I can't speak to it 100% because I'm not in that bubble. I can only speak to the bubble I'm in. And let's be clear, I've gone to a lot of establishments owned by people of many different cultures, race, whatever the term is we're supposed to use. And not once when I've got bad service have I ever entertained a minute to say, this food or this service or this room wasn't clean or this rent-a-car wasn't clean because this establishment is owned by someone of this race. No. You know what it means? Someone is either not good at running a business, or maybe they're really good at running a business, but they happen to make a bad hire. And the person who serviced you did a f***ed up job.
Woo-woo.
And that's what the problem is. It's not the entire business. It's the service you got from that one or two individuals. And maybe you got the service from the owner. Okay, but it's not because it's a black-owned business. It's because the owner is just not a good business owner. Or maybe it's something else. I don't know. But it's not because of the color of their skin, everyone. That's it. That's it. Put my salt away.
Another thing to keep in mind is minority business owners take on an inordinate amount of risk that as a business owner, you have a lot of risk.
Are you kidding me? We take way more risk than.
But
and
when you think about
I'm not discounting any other small business from a different culture or race. But we take on more. There is more risk for us. But first of all, how many banks are lining up to give us money? How many venture capitalists are willing to just throw money at us? Let me tell you something.
But they say Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, but do black wallets matter? That's my new hashtag this week. Do black wallets matter?
And so as a result,
not what you think.
As a result of not having the same level of access to capital,
You don't?
it makes it much more challenging for us to start our businesses, to grow our businesses, and keep our businesses running. And I think that's at the core of why so many business owners are tapping out as a result of COVID-19, because the cash flow isn't there. I've read the statistics. We're part of 10,000 Small Businesses, the Goldman Sachs program, and as an alumna, we have participated in some of the business surveys, and overwhelmingly 66% of 10,000 Small Businesses alumni are minority owned. And a majority of firms that responded to the most recent survey said that they had less than 3 months cash flow to operate their business.
I'm willing to bet, like most small business have it, not just minority. I'm willing to bet, like I know of some small businesses who are not minority owned, and I talk to them, and they talk to me. And let's be clear, when we talk, or we're friends, we're colleagues. Only one color matters for us. Green. It doesn't, like I walk in, she walks in, he walks in. You think I care what they care what my color is? I care what their color is? We're all sitting in a room, or we're sitting in my colleague's business, and we're talking or having lunch, and we're figuring out, as small business owners, how do we grow? This is this was pre-COVID. Now it's like, how do we survive?
Yeah, but if I know you're talking about the person I think you're talking about, the reason they can't get access to capital is not because they're a small business, because they don't have their stuff together.
No, but I'm just saying there are a lot
There are a lot of small businesses that struggle, but there are a lot of small businesses that don't look like us that can walk into mom and pop bank and
their
get a
business
big
plan
check.
is on a napkin, and they're like, okay, and they'll be like, okay, like,
like
give me this and give me that, and
PPP was flowing.
We will give you some financing, but you know what?
Flowing.
I'm putting the salt away. And you know what?
Put the
I
salt
don't want
away.
to sit here and people can talk about the problem and how
Come on.
the oppression boot is on me.
Bring it,
and
preacher.
Society is holding me down.
No.
And the man is keeping me from succeeding. I need the brotherhood to help me.
What I'm about to show you, few people have ever seen before.
Well, we're going to talk about solutions.
My question is, what are the solutions that you think people should be doing with their small businesses so they can make it past COVID, or make it while they're in COVID, survive, and then what they're going to do post COVID? Because we could talk about, listen, I care, but I don't care. History is important. You should know it. But at the same time, it's happened. Why are we going to dwell on the L? You want to know the history. You want to make it clear. Put it out there so people know and hold people accountable. But you know what? What about the future?
All right, so let's go. Let's go.
The salt is in the cabinet.
Go ahead. You go first.
Go first.
You go first.
What should be a solution for a business right now, small business during COVID and then post-COVID?
All right, so number one.
You just told me I go first, but
Okay,
you go
no,
first.
go ahead.
Ladies first.
So if you're a minority-owned business, find another minority-owned business and do business with that minority-owned business.
She stole my answer.
Oh, you should have gone first.
Okay, go ahead.
Don't pause.
Keep going.
Don't pause.
Keep going.
All right. So,
Steal my stuff. She's looking at my notes.
okay.
We're not having notes at the next podcast.
So again, if you're a minority-owned business, do business with another minority-owned business. It's not there. So for example, we buy ancillary products to support our security services. So maybe we find a minority-owned uniform company. Maybe we find a minority-owned office supply vendor, and we start exchanging dollars so those dollars stay in our community. That's
Okay.
the first tip.
That's your first tip.
Yeah.
Okay. So you kind of stole mine, but you really didn't. Because I'm going to go back to an old episode, and I'm just going to say biz development. You should be doing biz dev with every small business in your community.
Okay. So next one I have is show up at industry events. So I get very frustrated.
What events? COVID.
There's still stuff online.
Okay.
And it's not going to be, everybody's not going to be stuck in the house forever. But one of the things that happens to me quite often is when I go to security industry events, I don't always see a lot of people who look like us. And so when I
We're not going.
build relationships with the leadership of the organization or with somewhat competitors or other people in the industry, I hear, oh my gosh, like.
So show up.
Show up. Well, show up is simple, but it's where you show up and how you show up. Don't be that guy that shows up at the
Or gal.
networking event and you have on the blue jean jacket and the leather pants and the baseball cap talking about you've been in business for however long and you don't look like you about your business, because first impressions can take you out. Show up and show them what you're about. You'll learn of different opportunities. You'll make new friends. You potentially be able to collaborate with other non-minority firms. So you got to show up and show out. Next.
Content. What are you putting out right now during COVID to get you in front of people? Understand, people are home. What are they doing at home right now? They're on this. They're looking at Netflix. How many memes do you see right now with jokes about balloons falling out the ceiling and then it says on the person's screen, congratulations, you reached the end of the level for Netflix, right? They consumed all the content. No, I don't think anybody has consumed it all that I know of, but I'm sure there's somebody out there who's probably watched almost everything on Netflix. But you should be putting out content. People are home. Their attention is on their electronic devices. Get in front of them. Tell them your story. Talk about your products. Introduce them to your businesses, your products, and your services. Now is the time. Run ads on social. Run ads on social. Run ads on social.
I don't think they heard you.
Run ads on social. And run them local for where your business is. Don't be like some of these people I see on IG running ads, and I click on it, and their business is in Kansas,
Bakersfield, California.
and their business is a laundromat. I am not driving to Kansas to wash my clothes or to dry clean something. I commend them for trying, because you got to try to start. But I'm telling you right now, I'm saving you some of the headache. Run ads on social, on Facebook, on Instagram, in the stories, in the feed, in the stories, in the stories, in the stories, and choose your geographical region that you service and choose your customer. That way you're not spending money serving ads to people who are out of your geographic area who will not come and use your product or services. Now, if you have e-com and you ship all over, then choose that area, right? Social. Make content. Waleed, I don't have a phone. I don't have a camera. I don't have people. You have a phone It has a camera. You're in business. Record content. Hit post. It's out there for people to consume. But I don't know how to edit. It doesn't look good. The lighting and blah, blah, blah. If you're going to keep making excuses, COVID will be over and you will still be making excuses. Post content. I don't care what you think it looks like. You should see some of our first content we posted. I look at it and be like,
But that's the thing.
My
People
goodness.
can see it because we've posted
Because
it.
we've posted it. Crawl, walk, run. You didn't grow up knowing how to walk. You didn't come out the womb walking, but you figured it out. So get your phone and make some content. Waleed, I don't know this. I don't know that. Google it. You didn't know how to run that business when you first started. You figured it out. Figure out social. The people are so like, oh, we decline. No. The people.
So I'm going to give you a 0.5, a half a tip to go with your last tip. If you know of some really awesome minority-owned businesses, and we know a lot of them, promote them in your social.
Oh my gosh.
That's an easy one.
No, that's hard.
What do you
Johnson,
mean?
that's so hard.
What do you mean?
You want me to take my social media and take the create mode and write words on the screen about other businesses and tag them and put it out there? That's so hard. Why would I do that? It's going to hurt my thumbs.
It's free and it don't cost nothing.
Exactly. So you're talking about how you can help your community or business. How many of you have posted images or words or tagged the local businesses that you're always talking about? Shop small, support small business Saturday. How many of you have done it? But I bet you quick to put a Beyonce post or a Jay-Z post in your feed with the quickness. Beehive. But what are you doing for your community? How many posts have you put? I challenge you to go to your feed and scroll through it and tell me how many local minority businesses or small businesses have you promoted in your feed of stories. And you'll be like, oh, Waleed, stories expire in 24 hours. Go to your archives. Go to your archives and look. How many you got there? So how dare any of you sit there and be like, we support small businesses and you haven't supported them on something that's free and doesn't cost you anything. 3 clicks and it's up. Sorry. Salt came back out the cabinet. I had to put a little black pepper on.
Add some sugar because that's sweet. That's a sweet something that you can do for a business that you may or may not patronize. Hopefully you do patronize it. The local pizza shop where you go get your pizza, the place where you go get your hair and
How
nails
many slices
done.
have you posted?
Oh, I miss Avis Beauty.
It's going to make my feed look bad, right? I'm worried about if I take a picture that it's not going to make my feed look good.
Oh, please. Who really does that?
Archive it.
Who really does that?
Leave it up for a week. Support your local business for a week. I challenge you to walk up and down your neighborhood and take pictures of your local business and tag them and put in the captions what you like about them, why you go there. You go to the local coffee shop tomorrow morning to buy your coffee when you're walking your dog on with your mask on, because wear your mask, protect yourselves and others. Post a picture of it. Post a picture of it and tell your people in your circle, in your audience, why you go there. Why? Fat donut. It tastes like a little bit of maple, some dough that was rolled by angels and fried by a magical donut wizard. Yeah, that's what it tastes like.
My last point to help
What's on that hashtag?
help minority-owned businesses battle COVID-19 is to mentor. If you own a business, there's some type of information, some resources that you can share with another minority-owned business that can help them run their business better, help them increase their sales, help them better serve their clients, help them to better understand how to use social or different tools. So I encourage you, if you are a minority business owner,
stories
to mentor
Facebook.
Another minority business. It's something that we do all the time, and don't even say anything about it, even though you probably hear us talk about the businesses that we work with, because we love being entrepreneurs. We love small business, and we love the people that we do business with. So why wouldn't we want to pour into them? All right. So on that note, I think that we've given you a healthy set of ideas that you can consider and not just think about, but incorporate to help not just your own minority business, but other minority businesses. Remember not to let a crisis go to waste. In the time of COVID-19, where a lot of shops are shutting up, now is the time to make your impact so that you can win versus COVID-19. So again, if you missed the tips, number 1, do business with other minority businesses. Number 2, do business development with other businesses. Share your clients, your customers. Do coupons, distribute flyers. But if you have a similar customer base, those are companies that you can work with and collaborate with. Show up to industry events, and when you show up, don't be that guy. Please don't be that guy. I've seen you. No bueno. And then content. Social media is a way that you could really position yourself and your firm to excel. Run ads on social, run ads on social, run ads on social, run ads on social.
It's not good.
And remember,
I give up on this
not to overlook
next episode I'll have
the local opportunities, and support other local minority-owned businesses in your social platforms. And lastly, mentor other minority businesses. And even if you're not a minority business owner, if you're in business and you just know something that could help somebody be better in their operations, pull them to the side and give them a heads up.
We have to be better. And at the end, we have to work together. That's it. You take one toothpick, you can break it. Put a whole bunch of toothpicks together and try and break them together. There's strength in unity. So if we don't work together as a community, as business owners, as consumers, then we will constantly end up failing. We will constantly end up on the side of, underneath the heel of the oppressor. And the oppressor could be whatever it is you want it to be. The 1%, the banks, this economic group, this cultural group, whatever you classify,
or even that virus.
Right. Whatever you classify it as, because let's be clear, money is a tool, right? You'll hear these things, or money is the root of all evil, and this,
That's
that, and
not
the third.
what the word
Money
says.
can't buy happiness. I'm not arguing or discussing any of that. Money is a tool, and all I know is when I hire a contractor or a carpenter to do a job for me, to renovate an apartment, I notice a lot of different things between the different contracts that pull up when they come to give us a quote. And some have a lot more tools in their toolbox than others. One will show up and say, oh, I'll give you a quote and do this and blah, blah, blah. And they're using a hammer to bang in a screw. Where the other one has a screw gun. And then in his kit, he has a bunch of different bit sizes for that screw, right? Is it flathead? Is it Phillips? Is it large? Is it small? Whatever the sizes, the diameters are, they have different sizes. So money is a tool. So you need more tools in your toolbox. You need more financial tools. We win this game, ladies and gentlemen, by being smart, playing the game as chess, not checkers, and controlling assets and having financial stability and financial power. And let's not forget, go vote. Vote for people who are going to represent your interests, your needs. I'm done.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Commerce and Chill. Thanks for stopping by, and thanks for affording us a little bit extra time. Again, I am Jessica Johnson-Coe.
I'm Waleed.
If you found anything that we said to be helpful, please rate the podcast. Give us your feedback. Leave a comment.
Let us know.
Tell your aunties, your granny, your mama, and to subscribe. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Absolutely.